Good to have you, Kyle.
Thank you, Yusuf.
Yeah, so I know Kyle for over a year, a couple of years, and strikes me as a solid person, very from the heart, and amazing artist.
Super.
And
Thank
you
you.
go by K
KM8IVE
Mative,
Arts.
K Mative Art.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So it's always good to. We may put like if you have a clip, I can put it in the
Super.
podcast so it can show like the talking and then that be playing, for
Okay.
example, if you
Yeah.
want.
Cool.
Yeah,
No, I'd love
yeah,
to add some of my artwork into the podcast. It'd be great. Yeah.
yeah. And so you're sort of local.
Kind of
You
local, semi-local. Um,
from Brisbane area originally.
More so towards the Gold Coast area.
All
Yep.
right.
Um, yeah. And then
Mm.
from there, just
So you were in school when you decided art is a good. You felt like going towards art and
yeah. I think
in
always
Gold
art
Coast.
has been there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying
I
to
don't think.
imagine the environment where you came in, with that inspired you to do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess the environment that inspired me to do it was opposite the school, because whenever I was suspended or in trouble, that would be my time that I sat down and I would draw.
Yeah, yeah,
Go to your room. All right. Time to draw. You're suspended. All right. Time to draw.
yeah,
It was my time to connect to a space that made sense to me instead of being
yeah.
in trouble and like sitting there in silence or
So
whatever.
I think when we get confined and we
Mm.
have time,
Yeah.
there's no phone and
Oh, for sure.
whatever, you can explore what gifts you have in a way. Yeah,
Definitely. Yeah.
yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
I remember I was in a boarding school
Yeah.
and we're forced like to study, before dinner or whatever.
Mm.
And yeah, I used to carve those amazing chalks and just carve it with a hole in it with, they're like Native American kind of looking
Lovely.
thing. Yeah.
Super duper. Sounds
But
like a
it's like
totem pole or
we
something.
we need to get forced to be by ourselves in a way. It seems like, hey,
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Whether you're forced, I mean, later in life you try to find that or value it, don't you? But
yeah, yeah,
yeah. I guess yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Those
So you
moments
came
of
from there.
yep.
You finished school around the Gold Coast, or by then you moved?
Yep, still in the, would you call it Gold Coast region? Possibly more so. No, it was in the Logan Shire. I finished school.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And finished school at grade 10. Yeah, didn't go all the way
Oh,
through.
all right, right.
In the pursuit or the search of my art still,
Yeah.
I actually went into the automotive spray painting industry, thinking I was going to go in doing all airbrushing and cool stuff on cars, but and
You have to be confined to this way, that way. It's not.
yeah,
It's not
well,
everybody would say, "Hey, can you just have inspiration and paint my car?" Kind
of
of.
course, yeah, especially the industry
Yeah.
that I went into was the smash repairs. So
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
was you bump your car,
Just
we're gonna
yeah,
fix
yeah.
it, and
Even replace it, not even.
yeah,
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
these
yeah.
days definitely more
But for
replacement.
those who are wondering, that van behind me, you're probably
Yes,
able to see it.
my combi van, yeah.
Yeah, that was painted by Kyle.
Yeah, I painted that combi van in 2009. I'm 35 now, turning 36 in May.
Yeah,
I was still an apprentice when I painted that. Yeah,
yeah.
and it's an amazing car. The fact that I can't really hide in it is probably the only thing that I um pick wrong about my vehicle. Otherwise, it brings a lot of joy and happiness to people, and they're always
Have you
comment.
considered curtains?
Well, the curtains aren't going to hide much. I mean, the fact that the paint job makes me
Oh,
stand out is what I'm
all right,
referring to.
all
Yeah,
right, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I thought hiding
Um,
inside.
the curtain bit, been there, done that, and now it's just
Yeah,
like
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
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 I'm
yeah.
here. I can't hide.
So when did you end up moving to the Center Coast? Coast, was that around the time?
2019, possibly, yeah,
It was
or
around the time we met. I guess. I mean, you're a friend of
yeah,
Guy, who's always been
that's right.
there.
Yeah, well,
So you've been
Guy,
visiting here periodically.
that's right. Yep,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, Guy gave me the opportunity to move to the
that's
Sunshine
right.
Coast.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Prior to that, I was in the Channon and living in Nimbin, and um, yeah, I just said to Guy, man, I don't know if this is the place. I need a bit more
Yeah.
motivation, and I think there's a bit more that I can do in my life. And he said, well, come up here, buy a caravan. And
Mm-mm.
then, yeah, living with Guy for a year at least. He
Yeah,
was
yeah.
talking about you a lot and all your whole foods and how much you love good foods and natural living, hence your beautiful space and environment you do live in.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and then it was that time that I did finally get to meet you.
Mm.
But yeah, man, it's been great living on the sunny coast. So yeah, now 2024.
Yeah, yeah.
Since around that 2019, moved up here. Was working in a pizzeria. Yeah, and then
So in a
2020.
pizzeria for with art or pizzeria doing pizzas of the sort?
Yeah, well, I guess a pizzeria, being a pizziola, like a pizza chef, is
Yeah.
a form of art anyway.
Yeah, that's not what
Yeah,
I meant. I thought it
but
was like
yeah.
if you like what I was wondering when did you like start like living off of your art as far as your original art. But
Yeah.
yeah, pizza's art, and I'm sure
Yeah,
I've had
definitely.
your pizzas.
Yeah.
I definitely haven't made a pizza since.
Okay, yes. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
No, I
Yeah.
liked
Oh
how
well.
you make it. Yeah,
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
but
Yeah, I guess with the art kicking off, that wasn't until 2020 vision.
yeah.
It happened. The
I guess with the
pizzeria.
COVID-19 sort of, did it hit you while you were down there, or?
Yeah, well, the COVID-19 thing, I went from the pizzeria into a restaurant in Pomona there, that opened up, the distillery.
Yes.
Yeah, and then COVID came,
Yeah, yeah,
and for me, it's just like, oh yeah, another crazy world
yeah,
scenario,
yeah, yeah,
whatever. Didn't really click.
yeah, yeah,
But then I started seeing the impact on
yeah,
it to the staff and, I don't know, the things around me, and
yeah,
staff were leaving, and so I thought, stuff it, I'm leaving too.
yeah.
And then I guess 2020 clicked over, and I was like, man, I'm gonna do my art. So
Nice, nice.
yeah, and possibly 2019, it started all bubbling up because yeah, towards the end of 2019
Mm.
is when it was like, well, what am I gonna do? And then coming into 2020, it was like, bang, it's
Mm.
happening. Yeah. So yeah, and just starting with commission work, it wasn't like, yo, I'm an artist and I'm well known for doing the cool art
Yeah, yeah.
that I do, and I'm still yet to be known for.
But quite a few
yeah.
people like your stuff, and of
Yeah.
course, I've been liking it just not because I know you and you're a friend, but
Cool.
I really like it, and I try to be honest.
Yeah,
it's like the
man.
stuff that I love, the stuff
Yeah.
I like, or whatever.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's been
fine.
really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you got COVID hit.
Yeah.
You were now you had to commission. You were able to work during COVID, or
Yeah, surprisingly
Yeah.
enough, for
one
sure.
of the few.
Well, I mean, with the COVID, people
Yeah.
were receiving payouts, right, from the
That's
government.
right. Yeah.
So I was doing a lot of residential work,
Nice.
and some restaurant works, which were also receiving some sort of government funding.
Grants of the
Businesses
sort.
were
Mm.
receiving this funding too. So there was a mixture of different clientele that I was doing commission work for, and there were a couple of customers that the crypto went up, and they said, we're using our crypto money for this, and
All right.
yeah, and things have done well. Not that I received a
Yeah.
payment in crypto, but
Yeah. They cashed
yeah.
you in.
But the COVID never affected me, except when I'd step out of my own little world and try to go into a shop or something like that, and
That's
people with their
right, that's
authority
right.
and things
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that coming at me, and I'm like, what is this? And I felt like it was like, oh, this is not the world. This is like, who is that guy to try and throw that on me? It was like a police officer or something.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and it just made me go, well, stuff I'm not buying. Like, I'm out of here. I'll go
Yeah.
to the next shop that didn't have such a fuss about it. And then once I knew the game, that it was like, you got to get in there, you got to play by the rules. It was like, well, you got to come in, get your shit done, and get out. Like, no hanging around
Let's
and looking
get
for a
out of
chat.
this. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, but it's a mad blessing, dude. That the fact that, you know, the world's gone mad and my art's kicking off. Like, wow, how cool. Yeah, and still doing it now in
There you go.
2024.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. Yeah, super happy about that.
You're happy here in Kin.
Yeah,
Is it
just
Katurba? Is it
outside of Kin now, and yeah,
it's laid
working
back?
when the work's there, and living in a little tiny house, and yeah, you know, when I was at Guy's place, um, yeah, we built the tiny house together. We went to Brisbane and dismantled this Queenslander carport for $100 and
Hmm.
brought it back and re-erected it on a foundation on like I-beam sleepers and a floor, and added a couple of different styles to it, and now I'm still living in that. And yeah, went through
It
the
looks
flood.
great. Looks great. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks,
Experience.
man. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I've never built anything before. Like, you know, Guy helped me along the way, and then there was times that Guy wasn't there, and
You had to learn it.
yeah, I had to learn it,
Yeah.
man. Pick up tools and yeah, make a lot of stuff ups and
Yeah.
break tools, and working with hardwood because it's an old Queenslander. Everything's hardwood.
Wow. So it's a heavy tiny house.
Yeah, it's heavy. It's like a big tiny house.
It does look like a cathedral. It looks great.
Yeah,
It
cool.
I
Yeah.
hear from a lot of people who don't know you.
Yeah.
Like, it looks, like a church or something. Or a
Yeah,
cathedral,
it has got like a mini church
Yeah.
look to it for sure. But then when you see the front, it's like this
No,
modern
it's
box
great.
structure.
A lot of glass. A lot
glass,
of
yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Mm.
So.
So what drives your passion from day to day? Why are you doing what you're doing from day to day?
Hmm.
Mm.
I think it's obviously the unknown is part of it, and not sort of following something that's already set out upon me, and the belief within myself that I'm able to achieve what I love and what makes me happy. So the passion behind what I do is those thoughts, feelings, emotions. I know they're all attachments, but it's what makes us human, and I run off that. I don't run off the got to be at work at 9, eat at 12, and finish at 5 sort of thing.
Yeah.
That destructs my creativity.
The routine part of it, or is it the commitment to, oh, you got to do it this time, whatever? Is
That's
it the
right.
routine that it's like a day after day thing? I guess that's what you're.
Well, that's what I choose not to be a part of,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and find my own freedom in my own way. And
I do
it's
see-
slower.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
you know, it's not as frequent or consistent or a pattern or a
Yeah,
routine.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing too, is like a routine. Well, I notice within my life I have to form some sort of routine. When art's not on, there's other things I've got to fill my time with, and generally that's rejuvenating my creativity or going inside of myself and realizing who I am as a person, but still reflecting that upon my art, because that's what makes my art really. Is
Yeah.
whatever I am is what I am going to put out, and that's
Yeah.
where I want to be with my art too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we talked about that a lot earlier today, and where life is.
Yeah.
That line where
Mm.
you have a premeditated, pre-planned,
Yeah.
almost expectations are there. What's gonna happen throughout the day? You have your day, and that day after day.
Mm.
And you mentioned something when you were describing your passion. The first thing is the unknown,
Mm.
which there's no pattern. There's no that can be a routine if there's an unknown. 'Cause
That's right.
It just puts you on the edge.
Mm.
But also, I do see. I mean, as modern society and well developed, we tend to be proud of our complete coordination of everything chaos is bad. Chaos is bad. I do
Mm.
see, beauty to chaos as well,
Yeah, of
because
course.
it brings. I think what drove you is probably the priority of what you felt like needs nurturing the most, and it just what took you there.
Mm.
And to you was more feeding something that was important to you
Mm.
than giving the system what they expect of you, which is, yeah,
Definitely. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And but
It's
and
that.
that's and there is experience of life there. I mean,
Mm.
it's all
Yeah.
priorities, and
Yeah. Of course.
how you slice your energy and time is always that plays a role. Is
Mm.
what is the most important to you right now compared to other
Definitely.
things?
Yeah. And I mean, being a part of society also plays its role. Like, I have been employed throughout my life. I've completed an apprenticeship and I've worked in kitchens and I've worked overseas and stuff like that. And I find myself now, while working for myself and being an artist, applying some of those um, systems
Mm.
to complete the best work I can still as an artist. And I do think that maybe there are other artists out there that may have just come out of their bedroom or their studio as an artist, but there's things to realize, as in like your job site and your preparation and your cleaning up and your working of safety and stuff like that. And mentioning working of safety, of like, I've done jobs where, you got to have your insurance and you got to do a swims and you got to do
Mm.
your health and safety reports. And it
Mm.
blows my mind, because that, being an artist, I said it to you earlier on.
That's not what you're trained to do. That's not what
No,
you want to do.
yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Like, yeah,
yeah.
there's beauty within a bonsai tree, but that bonsai tree doesn't have its freedom. But sometimes, yeah, that tenseness or whatever shapes you just that bit more
Yeah.
professionally. But
Yeah.
so if you are in a profession, that's great, but don't ever think that
Yeah. Well,
you can go
it's not
beyond your
necessarily
profession.
the profession, but it's so
Mm,
used to the audit trails and
mm,
the forms, hoops, whatever that you have to deal with, that it's part of your life, not necessarily that you're
that's
into
right.
it, but it's like your day-to-day thing, where for
Mm,
you your job is to apply yourself, but for
yeah.
you to the interface between you and the
Mm,
money that you're trying to get, you have all those layers that you have to jump, and
definitely.
and
Mm-mm.
it's a bigger hoops for
Mm.
you, because that's not what you do every day. That's not what
No,
you want to.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mm, yeah.
feel for you.
Ah, it's
But it,
cool,
but it's,
man.
uh, but it's
Yeah,
unfortunately, it's like it hits a lot of people, especially
yeah,
elderly, where now it's like, with the smartphone, they expect you to have a smartphone. They expect
yeah.
you to have, whatever it is, the app that will do whatever it is, whatever.
Mm,
And at a certain age, it's like, you, you don't want to bother with it. You just done your part. You just want
yeah.
to just lay back and get
Mm,
whatever it is, compensation for your service or whatever it is, and just
yeah,
be.
yeah.
But
I
it's
kind of
not
feel.
easy.
I know, man.
It
I
is
kind of
not
feel like
easy.
I've come into this life as an old man. I'm like, dude, I
Don't
don't want to
bother
have
me
to
with that.
keep up.
Yeah.
Nah, just let me. Hence why I like to live in the bush, because it's my detachment from all that shit where you got to stay up to date and you've got to keep up with the latest technology and things like that. Like, just give me a brush and colors and I can make it work. Give me clay and water and I can make it work. Like, I love that too. Also, is realizing
Mm.
that you can still be as efficient or as creative without the latest technologies and things like that too, because there is an essence within that enables us to still produce the best of.
Mm.
And the technologies is what frizzles us a bit and draws us away from that. But then there's also the technologies that help, There's tools that I do implement within my murals or my paint work that make the job a lot faster.
Mm.
Um, yeah, there's different
You
mediums
gotta
or
do what you
whatever.
gotta do, but
Yeah, man.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
of course, the more you do it by hand, of course, you're feeling every part of it.
Hmm.
If it's of course, if you're using a machine, you're using your eyes and feeling it out that way, and
Yeah,
it's whatever,
100%.
it's
Yeah.
whatever, yeah, way you're communicating with your
Yeah.
muse. or
Yeah,
with your
yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. But I feel you, like, yeah, with what you said of, the elder generations feeling like they have to keep up with it. Like, yeah,
But I
it's
think
just,
it's a lot of the mentality now.
yeah,
It's like this is supposed to be the norm,
mm,
and we're just a new, century, and
mm,
that is what is expected.
mm,
They don't quite, you know, have like a buffer period for extended period of time for the older ones to not deal with it. They have to
mm.
learn it. They have to jump the hoops. They have to do whatever.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, I'm sure
But
there's
I
a
mean,
lot
they should be
more on its
respected
way.
regardless. I mean,
Mm,
I think um, the fact that we come out with new things
mm,
doesn't necessarily mean anything except that
mm,
we created new things.
mm,
And the challenge is making it as easy and seamless as possible
mm.
to the user.
Yeah.
You don't want to confront the user with, oh, now you got to do this and that and jump over, whatever.
Mm,
You want to just make it, technology shouldn't be an obstacle. It should make life easier. Like you said, you
mm,
use it sometimes when you're doing art,
mm,
but
mm, mm,
that's not what it's necessarily what's about, but
mm.
they can be helpful.
Yes,
And I
for
think
sure. Yeah.
the empathy that it seems like as we set those things into place, we tend to look at the previous knowledge
Mm,
as pretty much obsolete, and people who
mm,
are there are just backwards, and
mm,
they can be, you know, for what even though they may have their own culture, they may have their own civilization, they may have their own wisdom,
mm,
we can undermine it by the fact that they're not caught up with whatever it is. For example, it's today it's like a lot of things get fought in court, you
mm,
know, and especially if it has to do with indigenous or whatever rights.
mm.
And it is, you find that the rules are written by skilled lawmakers,
For sure.
not necessarily with good intention. It's
Mm,
more of like preserving, whatever it is that you're trying to get out of it, or open potentials for future things that you may be interested in,
mm,
and gives you the weight of learning the protocols and etiquettes of how you deal with the legal system, how do you engage with it,
mm,
how do you optimize without being drained to poverty,
mm,
in the court system, being dragged. It's
mm,
That's where we lack the empathy in. I mean, we have some things that are there to help, but
mm,
it's I feel for
mm,
that we're so like into now that we forget about, we don't have much empathy. We
mm,
expect everybody to be exactly like us. If we figure something out, it's like, what's the problem with them? What can't they
mm,
figure it out?
mm.
You know.
In terms of, like, if you're not keeping up, well then, what's wrong with you? Why haven't you got
There
the
shouldn't
best
be
of the
anything
best?
wrong with you.
Yeah.
You should go with your own speed. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, that from industrial point of view, from a
Of course.
capitalism point of view, they
Yeah.
want everybody to be like a good workforce.
Mm,
Go work your
mm,
as much as you can. Blah blah blah. You'll be used.
mm, mm,
And it used to be one person in a household to take care of things. Now it's everybody in the household,
mm.
and
That
gotta
needs
go.
to hold the fort.
Yeah, to
Mm,
be able to afford life.
yeah.
I don't know if we're going forward or going
Mm,
backwards.
mm,
They make how
mm.
the economy and the prices of things and all that. They make it as such a spreading us so thin. I
Yeah,
would say
man.
for the average person,
Mm,
that you're really not really finding the meaning of your own life to.
mm.
You're just too busy chasing
That little
the
bit
wheel.
of cheese
To
in
be,
front of you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I think I got a sniff of the cheese and it was like, all right, where is this shit getting made? Like,
Mm.
that's kind of my metaphor to life. It's like, yeah, okay, I smelt the goodness, but there's got to be even better good stuff than this. Yeah. Instead of like, oh, this cheese, this cheese, this cheese, and that's all I see. I'm like, there's got to be
You
more.
got you're
There's
feeling there is a
more.
hook hidden in the cheese somewhere.
Oh, of course, that's what
Mm.
that's what.
That's what you mean.
Yeah, and what you were just saying
Mm.
is, yeah, not just one person can bring a block of cheese home anymore. It's like everyone within that household has to bring a piece of cheese home to form a block. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, instead
Where
of
one person used to do it.
where one person would do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Used to do it. You
Yeah.
know, and
But if you just focus on the cheese, well, then that's it. But then if
that
there's
you're
other
yeah.
things to cheese, you know, like a
Yeah.
cheese platter, there's your grapes and there's your olives and then there's your biscuits or whatever. Like, yeah, don't just focus on that one bit of goodness. There's
Yeah. Yeah.
goodness to be found in
Yeah,
many different.
there is a story, and I'm
Yeah.
sure if I say it now, I'll butcher it.
Mm.
But it had to do with this town that anything you can buy anything with a penny. Like
Yeah.
anything you want to buy, you can buy with a penny.
Mm.
And there was something wrong with the you know that one person said, yeah, it's a great place to stay. The other person's
Yeah.
like, nah, the fact that anything is a penny, there's something wrong here. But it's I guess for some reason, I don't know what generation was it. Maybe it was mine, where you grew up on like, oh, there are those things where they're like sweepstakes and you win and whatever. They like to make people win certain things at times to, you know, whatever. And then you start thinking that there is something out there that you're going to be end up, you know, cashing in on something. But yeah, no, nowadays, like whoever is trying to give you something, he's going to be most likely taking something bigger.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I often think about that, about life and the whole scheme of things, and I think I've been trying to comprehend it within the last week or two and whatever. It's just like, yeah, you know, like my art could definitely take off, or my life can definitely take off, but the more I have, the more someone else is definitely missing out. Like I was trying to say to you earlier on about property and things like that. It's like, I can have 10 houses, but man, it's like those 10 people that are paying off my shit, and just because I say I've got 10 houses, it's like, well, what state of mind are they in? So it feels like the more
I'm not quite catching that. What the state of mind of the people
that
people
have to
are
just go grind for that little
to
block
pay
of cheese.
you mean to pay for
To pay the
you
rent,
the
to
rent.
pay me,
Yeah.
just like you were saying, you know,
Yeah,
the more
yeah.
you think you're getting,
Well, I think if
actually someone else is getting more, and that's
Yeah,
why it's
yeah.
like, why do I want more when someone else is going to miss out more?
well, some
So
people
there's this-
for them to play in this game of life,
Yeah.
they've been taught the way to make it is you go into debt. With the money of that debt, you put investments that tie, you know, and it's like a whole thing where you deal with the
Yes.
taxes, whatever, you
Yeah.
know, and that's one way of success or whatever, which
Yeah.
I'm clueless when it
But
comes
it's
to
still
that.
such an illusionary thing,
I mean,
really.
I mean,
like-
this whole, yeah, I mean, I think the only thing that's not illusion is the life you're experiencing.
100%. Yes.
And that's what matters the most. And,
Yeah.
and to me, as far as if you're doing priorities of what you're putting your energy in,
Yep.
those who are able to put it on themselves more than anything, that's good on them. That's the best thing you can do
Yeah,
for your
man.
own self.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the greatest richness, because you are then the treasure box. Instead of trying to fill your treasure box up, it's like, well, I already have my treasure box, so it's
So what got you there? What made you realize that you don't need anything? The fact that you're saying that you're not in search of the treasure box. You're actually the treasure box. So can you explain that?
to explain it.
It's like what do you mean when you say that?
Well, I mean, like I said, you know,
I mean, I can interpret it multiple things. I
yeah,
just
of
wanted
course,
to know yours.
of course, yeah. So in order for me to feel like my treasure box is full, you know, it seems like you got to have the car, you got to have the house, you got to have the clothes, you got to, and all those things are important.
So you're
Even
talking
I
about
need that.
contentment. When you're saying the treasure house,
Yeah.
treasure box is full, what that you mean is contentment. How
Yeah.
content are you?
For sure.
And it's
yeah.
like, is it the car? Is it the this? Is it the that? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Within contentment within yourself and knowing
Yeah.
yourself, and
So you don't
the treasure
feel-
box doesn't just appear. You know, you have to go through the darkest times. You have to reset your mind from everything that you thought was normal and the things you were working towards, and shit, I'm not going to work. It's been a whole week and I haven't even worked. Like, oh no, am I doing something wrong here? You know, and it's all those things you have to deal with in order for your treasure box to flourish, like, and be content within the path that you're choosing.
So
You know,
okay, so you're
otherwise,
dealing with the demands of your environment, from bills and whatever have you, and all that. Hence, the thinking specifically is like, I haven't worked, right?
Yeah.
Because you need the dollar.
yeah,
So how are you dealing with it? Because you're saying you know how
Yeah.
to deal with that. Being a treasure box.
yeah.
You know,
Well,
so
how am I
you-
dealing with
Yeah.
it? Well, I guess it comes down to my lifestyle. You know, I still have a car that I bought when I was 17, you know, like, and I'm 35 now, and I had a work ute, but it got washed away in the flood and it wasn't
Yeah.
insured
I
and
was
it's
there.
gone.
I
And
was there.
yeah, how am I dealing with it? I've chosen to live in the bush the moment I realized
The cost of
the
living
cost of living.
in non-bush, I guess.
Yeah,
That's
I
why.
mean, for sure, I go without things that generally people feel like they need. But again, your treasure
Simple
box
life, basic
is,
necessities. Is that what you,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So
Hmm.
again, your treasure box is, does it need to be full of all these brands or does it need to be filled with my contentment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And how do I deal with it? Well, my rent is cheap. My income to my art versus my outgoings, it's
it's
well more
manageable.
than
Okay.
sustainable.
So
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So you adjusted
Yes.
your life so you can afford it, and that is what's bringing you the contentment of no anxiety, no.
One hundred percent
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
have a Egyptian saying,
Hmm.
beautiful, one of the few beautiful sayings. They say, you extend your legs when you're lying in bed. You
Hmm.
extend your legs as far as where your blanket as far as the blanket can go,
Hmm.
right?
Great.
So you don't go beyond the blanket. You have the
Hmm.
blanket goes this far.
Yeah. Lovely.
This is how far you put your legs.
Yeah. It's
They
beautiful.
mean about spending, when
Yeah.
you know you
Okay.
because
Yeah.
here it's like you don't have anything, but you
Mm.
go into debt and
Mm.
then you buy something, and it's
Mm.
so it's like really you're out there is no blanket.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, even the times that I do have a job that's far away from home, I just chuck a mattress in the combi bus and that whole blanket thing while you were saying it. Dude, I got tablecloths from my nonna, and that's
Mm.
my blanket. It's not as big as me, but that's my blanket. Like, I don't need the double-sized mattress in there with my double-sized doona and my 4 fluffy pillows. When I'm at home, I got all that, and it's
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
But I love being able to manage with what I have, and yeah, I think
yeah.
that blanket scenario is lovely because I apply that and practice that every day. Like,
Mm.
cold shower,
That's
or
very unusual,
yeah,
for
of course
today's
it is.
age. Yeah,
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 of
yeah.
course it is. But I know that. Yeah, it's.
I mean, I'm a lot like you. I mean, I have stuff I
You
don't,
very much are.
I'm a
Yeah.
hoarder.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
I always feel like okay, I need it, buy it once. Hopefully, I'll never buy it again. I have it,
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, there's a saying that I learnt while living in the country, and it was by a lovely lady out in Lamington National Park, and she said, "A man is only as good as his rubbish pile," and I totally do get that. But like the property that I moved
Like the
on to,
bigger the pile, the better, man, or bigger the pile.
well, dude, especially living in the country, right? Like, when do you need that one screw or that one bolt or that one bit of timber
That's
or,
true.
that
That's
one
true.
stake to keep the
Yeah,
tomatoes
yeah.
up for this next rain that's going to
That's a
come?
good
Or
detail. Being out there, bigger, rubbish pile, better.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But having said that, where I've moved my tiny house now, my landlord probably doesn't appreciate a rubbish pile.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
I have been coming home lately and being like, what is all this shit? And
yeah,
throwing
yeah.
stuff out, knowing deep inside me that there are possible opportunities for these things to be used. But until I purchase a piece of bushland myself, they're not valuable to me
Yeah,
right now. And I do
yeah,
have
yeah,
to let
yeah.
that go. And I like that.
No, I mean definitely
Yeah.
there are footnotes. I mean,
Mm.
if you're a nomad,
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's like you can't buy
No.
everything.
Yeah.
You'll have to be minimizer,
Yes,
completely contrary.
for sure.
You gotta master how to be a minimizer. You have a tiny house.
Yeah, man.
You know, you gotta fit in that tiny house. You can't
Yes.
have every
Yeah.
screw, every whatever. You know.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
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 It's only if when you settle. I mean, that's
Yeah.
something we forget a lot. You know, it's like yeah,
Yeah.
when you settle, and it's.
Hmm.
I mean, the old times. I always, like I was saying earlier, I always, refer myself to compare to the old times.
Yeah.
They
Okay.
were living how they were living. It's the land.
Hmm.
You sell, you go out, you adventure, you do whatever, kill the
Hmm.
saber tooth,
Hmm.
whatever you do, whatever, and then you come to and we're in general we're settlers, but
Hmm.
there are the Hungarian, what do you call them?
Oh no, I'm not a very good history
No,
man.
they move from one place to the other all the time.
I like the gypsy style
Gypsies.
people.
I know it's
Yeah.
like some
Okay.
words,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
disappear.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and in around the Middle East, Bedouins.
Yeah. Hmm.
The Bedouins,
Yeah.
camels, and they go from one place to the other.
Yeah.
And it's
Hmm.
a shame that
Hmm.
we've got
Hmm.
so into drawing lines on maps that all
Hmm.
that stuff is not there, and we're forcing people to change their lifestyle, their
Freedom of
culture,
life that suits
yeah,
them.
the freedom of navigation
Yeah. Well,
in God's land.
yeah, man.
I
For
mean,
sure. We'll
it's
take a
a
look at the van life, for example.
yeah,
You know, when I have a job and I've got to go sleep in my combi van, I've had it before. Council knocking on your window at 2 o'clock in the morning, like, mate, what are you doing here? It's like, well, dude, I just finished a job. I don't want to drive home. And it's like, you can't park here. And it's like, well, man, like, how
mm,
lovely for me to be able to have a place after I work, have a swim in the ocean, cook some food, have a sleep. I'm not having a party. I'm not going to live here for the next 2 years, but yeah,
you gotta pay prime time for that. You gotta pay a
yeah.
few millions, then you'll be able to do that.
Ah,
But you as a simple person,
that's
nah,
right.
we're not allowed. We're just a
No.
workforce.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
and it's lovely to experience that life, and I'm sure that's why people backpack and stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
It's because you do get a little glimpse of it, but then other people just fall in love with it, and they're like, "This is it for the rest of
Mm.
my life." Like, and
And
then,
my guesses are, I mean, I only been in Australia for 15 years.
mm,
My guesses are it's a lot more difficult to, just as you're driving down the coast or whatever, being able to find easily a place you can just park and sleep
it is
in your
very
van or
difficult.
whatever. You have
Yeah,
to go pay somewhere or whatever. Everything is getting to be measured
yeah,
and
man.
sold.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well,
It's a
everyone's
shame.
taken the prime spots that our parents or even our grandparents probably used to pull down the wagon tray and sleep in the back of it, have a
Mm,
fire.
mm.
Like, man, I've missed out on the best times. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
our
yeah.
parents, and then probably our parents and my like grandparents, they probably had the best opportunity to experience that. Like, Australia back then was definitely more of a free country,
Yeah,
but now
yeah,
the big investments, the bigger
yeah,
developments, they've taken
yeah,
up all
yeah.
the prime spots,
It's the
and then one dude comes,
capitalist part of it. It just
yeah,
takes all the beauty out of
the
it.
beauty of it, like,
Yeah,
man, and the experience that
yeah,
someone that at home, instead of watching Netflix, could just jump in their car and go, stuff it, I'm going to sleep in my work tray ute tonight.
yeah,
Like, how
yeah,
awesome's that?
yeah, yeah,
Just go do it, man. Sleep under the stars. So
yeah.
what? Take a little cooker and just,
And
yeah.
mind you, I mean, we can have laws and rules,
Mm,
but we also the law enforcement can,
yeah.
and I think should have the option of, just looking the other way. I think the rules are made for abusers, like, people are,
Mm-mm.
there are so many rules that you can be breaking just doing whatever you're doing.
Of
And then you
course.
only use those rules if
Yeah.
it's somebody who's like they're
Mm,
trying to get. If somebody who's
yeah.
causing trouble, is a trouble guy, and
Yeah.
and he's
Or
able to
enforce it.
navigate. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm,
so it's
yeah.
it's a shame that
Mm,
it's all like them and us, from
mm,
a lot
yeah.
of angles
Yeah.
where it's
But it's really nice to try to move through your days of letting go of that, because I feel like when you do
letting
let
go
go
of
of the them and us kind
yeah
of thing, because it can really restrict your life because you're like, oh, can't do that. Like I think we were saying earlier, the Karens and all that sort of shit.
Yeah.
It's stuffing shit up, and it's not only stuffing the outside up, it's stuffing the inside
Yeah,
up for us
absolutely.
as people.
Absolutely.
Like, we don't want to go outside because someone's going to tell us
Yeah.
that, well, we shouldn't be doing whatever we want to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
doing. Like,
Do you feel we get treated like we're being kids? Like we're big kids?
dude, Australia for sure. Like, I thought leaving school, going back to school would be like, man, they won't treat me like a kid anymore. But then, like, I went traveling in Europe and stuff like that and come back to Australia and things like that. And it's like, far out, man. I feel like I'm in school more than anything now being an adult. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, and now I say this to my...
Europe.
Well, in Europe, I don't know whether it was because you're a free soul when you're traveling and you're probably unaware
it's a different
of
world.
that same thing of what we're talking about now, that them and I thing. You know, you're moving through Europe and you're enjoying your time and they're saying the government's shit here and all that sort of stuff and they're just bombing the streets or whatever. Not like terrorism style, but like within the graffiti world.
A lot of protests now. A lot of, I mean, I get the feeling that the world has changed where it's not about the people who live in it, but it's the people who rule it.
Oh, of course, 100%. And we're letting them do it.
Blatantly.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing that I'm thankful for being an American is the Constitution, because it's written somewhere.
Yeah.
We, the people. It's not. It's not. You know, it's the crown, and under the crown there are subject, and do so and so under so and so. And it's really interesting seeing a lot of the different cultures with like with the Japanese and all that. It's like people get into the pecking order for some reason. You know, they get, you know, and it's a way to show that you're at that rank, is having that attitude of that person on the higher pecking order. And yet when you go to your boss, you're like a chicken and he's like, he's got the pecker, you know, whatever. It's like, you know, and the people who haven't matured, you know, on the business side, I mean, I've seen the corporate side, people who act like they're a boss, you know, being a boss, you're like a boss. It's usually frowned upon. It just shows lack of maturity. You're trying to fill a void by, you know, it's like you're trying to prove you're something, you know, that you have the title for, and therefore you act a certain way. I mean, I've felt for that. It took me a bit to learn. You know, I just need to focus on what I do. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
And I think if people are just too busy with what they're supposed to do, it just brings a focus where it's not about anybody's ego and any of that feeding to anybody's narcissism or you know, having you know, this kind of attitude of you know, the victim and the violent person.
Yeah, well, they get us all in that pecking order because they've showed us what comfort is. And that's that.
What comfort is?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well,
who brought that comfort?
Who brought the comfort?
Yeah, what do you mean comfort?
Well, you can have a blanket that will go way beyond your feet.
All right.
You know, but you got to turn up to work every day. And you got to pay your bills. And you got to
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what keeps that's what keeps that whole game going, dude. And if you're blind to that, well, you're going to be within the game.
Yeah.
But then the moment you do realize that, oh, I just got to curl up tonight to make this work, well, you're now defending yourself and you're looking after yourself and, you know, and you're stepping out of that. Oh, it's a bit cold, but it's only going to get warmer and the more stronger you get. You know, the first day you want to go lift weights, for example, it's going to be bloody heavy, but, you know, a week or two later, you're going to be like, holy smokes, I need to put more on this thing. Oh, look at me. You can tell I'm definitely a weightlifter. But, you know, it's just that whole realization, and I would love to see it all collapse and whatever, but we do need structure, we do need order. It's gonna take time. Yeah, it will take time. Yeah, whether I see it in my lifetime, you see it in your lifetime, or my niece or my nephews get to see it. Hopefully, they're the ones that rise above and they've got the passion, the love, the capability, but it's so hard, obviously, with all these screens and shit that are distracting them, and then the trends and things like that.
Well, it's like a pendulum. I mean, you're gonna do something so much, it has to bounce back somehow, and you know, hopefully we learn from it. I think that's something we can't help. I mean, there's
Yeah.
the nature, the law of nature versus our laws. You know, we can do anything the way we, whatever,
Yeah.
but you're gonna find the law of nature is, you know, you go so far, you know, go too far this side, you know, you're gonna have with crazies, you're gonna end up with people sick, or you're gonna end up with sickly society, or you know, you go this side, it'll be whatever. We're feeling ourselves, but the only problem, I think, it seems that you know, a certain level of people, I don't know if it's a politician level or whatever, is the lack of caution and empathy to the victims.
Of course, yes.
You know, and
There's none
it's
of
really
that.
brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's like taking people's kids away if they're mixed culture. And it was at one time. They were doing something else in Africa. I think it was. I don't remember. Belgium, maybe. Yeah, it's like, it's amazing what we're capable of doing, and we're not learning to be better at it. We keep repeating the same thing with the COVID. You know, just you know, putting all this stuff. If somebody is allergic or whatever, it's like, well, try the second shot. It's like there is no the being advocate to the small guy, to the victim, to the guy who's not part of that mainstream that's pushing. You know, we let go of protecting that. I think, yeah, I think we all need protection, especially the weak ones, especially the communities that are not able to speak for themselves. They need bigger ears. We need to give them bigger ears. You know.
Well, history's shown that like, you know, our native people, and they've had to suffer these consequences, and these, not consequences, but these actions of these people that are heartless and aren't applying a system that looks after everybody. They're just coming in and going, no, this is what we're doing, this is how we're going to do it. And yeah, children are being separated from their mothers and their fathers and their loved ones and everything like that. And it's horrible, the structure that does sit above us, but we all go run for. You know, it's a complicated game, mate. Hence why living in the bush, being an artist,
Slow down.
I know, but but there has been within the last 2 weeks. It's like, well, is there something that I can do or can be done? And it only seems like the platform is you use your social media or something like that, or you go to these riots or whatever. And yeah, we need to be heard.
But even the social media, they have AI
the censoring
running it.
shit and
They-
the
they-
AI
they
and the
can cancel
algorithm
you.
and
You know, how does it
and
feel
you
when
can
I
be
put
cancelled?
when when I put post
Yeah.
and not I mean, I know people, if they see it, they will acknowledge, but
Yeah.
you know they're making it so nobody can, so
Of
nobody
course.
would see it,
Yeah.
unless you go there intentionally.
Yes, man. And this is what's bringing
that's corrupt.
this is what's bringing all
Evil.
this to the surface for me. Is like, why is it like you start a new profile on one of the social media platforms and you go to the search, and the thing that's coming up is, you know, blokes that are super muscly in front of their fast cars, women that have had all the surgery and everything done to look appealing with the highest well-known brands and things like that. Before you even have a chance to articulate your own platform within that social tool, they're already feeding you the bullshit that they want you running on. So that's the thing, man. They want you seeing the football. They want you seeing the cricket. They want you seeing the big boobs. They want you seeing the big lips. They want you seeing the fast cars, the tattoos, the big muscles, and all this sort of shit that seems to be
Normalizing.
the thing of society. But it's far from it, man. And then, if you then, you know, start feeding it with like organic food and, good agriculture and sustainable building and stuff like that, you get to a certain point within your feed, going to the search, you start getting all that algorithm coming through. But then still, what I've now noticed in like the last 2 weeks, it's like it then gets to that level again where it's like, invest in this, invest in that. And yeah, okay, cool. I want to invest. Let's look up investing in organic foods, or let's look up investing into a better future. And then you read up on it, and it's like, well, you're better off putting your investments in this higher platform that's been well known and recognized forever. And then you look into them dudes, and they're the dudes that are over there in the war and got the
They
machines
own
that are
everything.
pulling down our fucking forests and, you know, taking away our native people's lands and polluting our waterways and all that sort of shit. It's like, fuck, man. Like, where do you place yourself?
Yeah.
And yeah, where is it that you can make a difference or whatever? I guess doing podcasts, talking about it, and if it gets seen, great. The algorithm, whether that enables it to get out there and find its way to the people, and the people, it's not like, yo, we're doing it right and they're doing it wrong.
No, it's more of expression of
It's
how,
just
how each
100%.
person, your perspective on
Yeah,
how you're
what's
dealing
working
with life.
well? Yeah, what's
How am I dealing with life?
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it's like,
and what's working best for me, and you know, been there, done that as a young fella. You go to church, you go to try and find God, and then you come home and you're like, everyone, you gotta find God. It's so good, rah rah rah. And then you go to work and you're working and you're like, oh my God, is that the devil inside my head? He's attacking me and rah rah rah. It's just like, holy smokes, man. Yeah. And then
No,
you mature later on in life and you start to deal with those emotions and thoughts and who you are and your contentment and your treasure box and the things that you value and growing up's great. Being young is
absolutely.
great too.
Yeah,
But
it's a
growing
different
up is
experience.
fucking cool,
Maturing,
man.
realizing
Yeah.
that it's about you figuring out what is important to you.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
nobody else will.
No
I
way.
mean, it's all
Yeah.
derailing,
Yeah.
distraction,
Yeah.
and whatever it is. I'm with
Yeah.
you 100%,
Yeah.
man.
And it's hard to find that sense of self and that maturity when, you know, I talk to my nephew or whatever and he's talking about things that I'm like, bro, it's so far from where I hope you want to end up or what you focus on and things like that. I can see so much smartness in you. I've seen you read books when you were like 3 or 4 or whatever, and I know it's weird, that might be wrong, but I feel like it's right. And he was just smashing through books. And then I showed him graffiti and stuff like that. And he'd come back with like graffiti drawings that I'm like, holy smokes. Like I wasn't even doing graffiti like that. Or, you know, doing like karate in the backyard and stuff like that. And I know he's got massive ability. Both my nephew and my 2 nieces, I see that enlightenment in them and that amazement. Like kids are here to teach us and update us. We're just here to guide them. But that whole thing of when you're young till the point of
Do
you
you
grow
think this
up.
is really happening?
What's really happening?
The kids, they're teaching us, and we're.
Well, right. I mean, like every time you connect your phone or your tablet to Wi-Fi, what's the first thing you want to do? Update your tablet, update your iPhone. First thing you do not first thing you do, but when you meet someone, you create life, and that life is a new version of you. That's your update. That's an update. And
No,
if you
no. I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm very much, I'm very much into.
I've got no kids, but I believe it. I see it
yeah.
in my nieces and my nephews, and I see it in kids around me. It's
Yeah.
like, wow, man, these guys are the next generation of like the software update, the next like thing to make us go, wow, I didn't see that either. And
but I meant it to like. Do you notice a lot of people realize that? I mean, I'm with you.
No way, dude, because the whole thing of sending them to school, the whole thing with like telling them to.
Well, school is not bad, but it's schools tend to the way it's done. It's maybe indoctrinating versus let them go. Explore more. I mean,
for sure.
It takes special schools.
Yeah, there are special schools and stuff like these days.
But it is something that I wanted to ask about, because it's to me it's like you sort of you cannot judge too much. You can judge things by track record, perhaps. And then I feel, how are we doing? What is our track record? How are the whatever, and that's how we figure things out. Did we figure it out? No. Are we happy? I mean, I'm happy finding contentment within. I'm happy within myself. But in general, as a society, I see it as a, sickly society kind of thing. It's just so much confusion, so much
Yeah.
stuff happening.
Well, then that's also the thing too, though. Like, so you start a family, you have kids or whatever. Like I said before, I don't have kids. I haven't
Hopefully you
personally.
will. Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah, it'd
hopefully
be
part of your
amazing
plan. Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
But for me to speak out like this for people that may listen and go, well, you haven't even had kids yet, you just wait. Well, yeah, I will wait.
I have kids. I have kids, so I vouch for you.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, cool.
I mean, I have 2 kids, right?
Yeah, super duper.
And to me, it's like, it's easy to explain pros and cons and let them make choices a lot of times because they have to live with the choice.
For sure.
I
mean, it's all about a parent to also look after and nurture and things like that. But don't distract their course or
if they have gravitation, if they have natural ability, don't suppress it or don't brush it off or don't cancel them.
100%. Yeah. Never cancel your kids out, no matter how hard the relationship is between the two of you. Or each of you. Or I think that's the other thing too, is acknowledgement to the child, and that's not like, oh, you're such a good boy, and oh, you're so beautiful, and all this sort of stuff. It's not that. It's attention. It's looking them in the eyes. It's giving them time.
It's not like you don't have kids. You do.
Yeah, I've got my 2 nieces and 1 nephew.
Right. Okay. All right.
And they're super duper. They're the coolest kids out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love them.
The innocence, there's no agendas. They're straight. That's how kids. You can describe almost any kid like that. And that's beautiful.
Yeah. And you could say innocence, but you still see like, oh man, you're a naughty little shit in that way, or whatever. But it's like getting on that level with them. Getting on that level with them. Like if you do see that, it's not like don't because ultimately straight away that kid's gonna go, oh, that's what sort of gets at you and or whatever. So they'll play with it. You've got that's what I love about kids, is like getting on their level and like helping them know, like, man, I'm making pizza, you're making pizza with me. I'm not making it because I'm the adult here. We're lighting a fire. Here's the lighter. Here's the wood. Light that shit up. Because if I'm not here and you want to make pizza, well, you make pizza, or like, whatever. Just simple.
Get them involved. Get them engaged.
Man.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Like if you want a strong child, I think that's got to be it. Like,
and again, you reference the old times.
Yeah.
They must have had to do that.
They would have had to do that.
Either the kids
get out there before the sun's coming up. Get the milk.
Or do whatever. And I'm not saying like
that's why our grandparents are so strong.
I'm saying even before grandparents, like in the old times when they were created.
It's ancestors, man. Ancestors, like
Yeah.
whoa, tapping into their energy and thinking about them. That's the other thing too, is we're so focused on it's all about us, it's all about how I look, it's all about what I want.
What I want now.
Shit, dude. Think about how many generations and timelines and how far it has been before you got here. Now.
Yeah.
Like take those moments too. And me being and having the time that I do. But even when I was in my apprenticeship and my job and stuff like that, you still think of this shit. You have to. I mean, if you jump in your car and you turn fucking B105 on straight away or some Nova or shit like that, bro, you got no time to think. Or if you're fucking turning on your Spotify and it's just this music that's just filling you up with like, got to get to the club this weekend, got to drink, got to smoke weed, got to do all this crap, you're not going to have a moment of silence, especially when you're driving. It's great, and if you're getting to work while the sun's coming up, don't be shy to look at that sun for a little bit. Not too much because you're going to blind yourself. You won't be able to see. But it's just some of these
being aware of
which is really beautiful. It's
you look like you're really in a nice, joyful place. I mean, when you arrived and
cool,
you
man.
Look like you're feeling good. You're just bubbly and perky and.
Yeah, man, and that's where I want to be, and that's like as a child. Again, that's what I felt, but it was like, Kyle, you're talking too loud. Kyle, rah, 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 rah. And now that I'm 35 and I'm doing what I'm doing, man, I'm owning this shit. That's it. And now all I have to do is practice it, believe in it, and pursue it. You know, don't give it up. There's going to be hard times,
Yeah,
100%. There are. But yeah, man, I love this place that I'm in now. There were times, even while drinking and smoking weed and doing all that sort of stuff, still, like, I looked at the world so inquisitively and stuff like that, but it was sort of like counteracting, like, well, man, there's got to be a nice feeling out there, which I'm feeling now, and it's great. And
Nice.
yeah, I want to hang on to
And
it.
you're not doing any of that.
No. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not. I mean, it's only been since the beginning of this year. So what? Coming into April now, 4 months. But yeah, I want to continue it.
Nice.
You know, like, yeah, man, through school. You know, getting suspended for smoking cigarettes and smoking weed and stuff like that, and then still doing it till the time that you're 35 or whatever. It's just like, you know, yeah, it's not that exciting anymore. It's nice, it's cool, it's great, whatever, it puts you out. But I think that's what I'm liking now too, is the resistance of that moment where it's like, oh, it'd be so nice, and then it's like you get through that and you got through it and you're like, whoa, I'm at it. But yeah, dude, it's only new, but I'm gonna.
You're enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. Yeah, yeah. Charge on. Yeah. And then,
So-
just, I don't know.
What?
Thinking about the little ones again. It's like,
Yeah,
man,
yeah.
if we're blocking out all our receptors and shit like that, how can we ever talk to them about it or give them an insight to it? It's, yeah, I don't know. There's that sort of thought that's been in the back of my mind too. It's like, man, if all this crazy shit's going on and I'm doing what I'm doing to sort of turn that off, it's not that I was. It's just like I enjoy it. Going to Europe and stuff like that. With every meal, you have a glass of whatever, and after a meal, you have a little shot of whatever, and then you smoke a nice big joint, and everything's cool and great. And then you come back to Australia, and you find yourself doing that every day, and not every day, but after work, and this repetitive thing. And then, I don't know, yeah, you do get to this point where it's like, what is going on in the world? Would like to know more, and would like to understand more, and stuff like that. And you kind of need to sort of give something up to gain something, is what I've kind of come to the conclusion of. Plus, doing my art, it's like, whoa, man, I'm living my dream now. Like, this is something that I've always wanted to do. Plus, there's more things that I want to do. So,
It's working out, and that's the main thing.
Yeah.
If you tapped in a groove and you have, you're in the groove, why should you change that? You know,
and I kind of feel like I could go to a party and still be in that drunken feeling mood, you know?
Natural drunken feeling mood.
Yeah, because I think you get over that point of like, I need it to get to that spot. But
nah, you don't need it.
Yeah, you sort of get it, and then it's like, man, I reckon I could go hit it up now. Easy. I wouldn't go to the club or whatever to test it out. Like, that's just stupid. Only because I don't want to be in a dark place. Yeah. Rather much so be gathering with friends and having good food and just talking life and enjoying.
Yeah, talking life is a good thing.
I love talking life, man.
It's a lot better than ordinary chit chat.
It
just has more substance.
Yeah, and like I said to you
it's fulfilling
earlier,
a little bit.
for sure. And like, it may seem daunting, but you got to get all the daunting shit out of the way first. Like, why can't we speak about the bad stuff or before we talk about the good stuff? And like, and then once we get through all the bad shit, I think we're only going to continue talking more good stuff, because I'm looking out for you, you're looking out for me.
If we don't see the bad stuff, that means it'll stay.
That's true.
It's like if you notice dirt on yourself, if you ignore it, that's
Yeah, I love that one. You notice dirt on yourself. I love that. Don't be ashamed of it. Just fucking look at it and get it off and move on. Yeah, man, do the cleansing. Yeah. The dirt on the self, It's just like, plenty of us have got it, but we act like we don't because of what we wear and who we are and what's our position in life, our role in life. Like, all these big dudes in power and everything like that, bro, they're dirty as, man. They've been rolling in the mud for too long. Shake that off. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
how do you see yourself this right now? You have a job you just finished, or is a lot of stuff
Yeah.
that you may be adding there? Is just a lot of work, and it's just having a breather. How
Mm.
do you picture your coming, you know, 6 months or so? Are you like
Mm.
a lot of things
Yeah.
lined up? Mm.
Well, yeah. I mean, for work-wise, there's a couple of jobs in the
In the works?
in the works, and that's the other thing too of that, knowing that there is future work ahead. It is a feeling of safety.
Yeah.
Um, but I can't say that I have work for the next 6 months. But tomorrow I could wake up and 3 inquiries could come through and it could
Yeah,
roll
yeah,
out
yeah.
depending
True, true.
on the job.
Yeah.
The job could be a 1 month job, a 1 day job, a 1 week job, or
Yeah, it depends on the
whatever.
size. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm more than
And
happy to paint every day, as I
yeah,
say.
yeah, yeah.
But it's also nice when you do have that week off, like in the beginning of doing my art journey and things like that. That week off or whatever was like, fuck, where am I going to get my next job or whatever? And you stress
Yeah.
out. And again, then you're feeling that out and realizing it's okay because I do need a rest. I do need to eat good
Yeah,
food.
yeah.
I do need to just have a sketch in my iPad or my sketch pad. Bloody sketch in my iPad. Um, and yeah, have a walk around, go to the beach, go to the markets, do all that sort of good stuff. So it's all okay. But then at that point of view of what more do I want in my future? Well, I'd love a block of land, like,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I'd love to be amongst nature and things like that. And
yeah.
in order to do that, well, I do need to know that, hey, 6 months, I'm booked out for the next 6 months,
Not
dude.
necessarily. Yeah, I
Would
mean,
be
it's
amazing.
yeah,
But I
yeah,
trust
yeah, yeah,
that it will provide.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
got to, dude. I mean, it's
yeah, yeah.
4 years.
No, hopefully,
It's
as you're
yeah,
approaching, things are
yeah,
changing to your plans, which is really the best way to be,
yeah,
since it's not a routine. That's
mm,
great. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. That's right.
So
Yeah,
yeah, I noticed the sun is like going down, and the
yeah.
the lighting here is doing most of the lighting. So that'll be
Cool.
nice to see in the podcast how it does.
Good. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Is it your
do
first
you
time of using the light?
not the
No.
first
Okay.
outdoor, but in the dark?
Cool.
It's the first time as the
Yeah.
sun is going down.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you want to let people know where to find your art?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just the basics of Instagram and Facebook, and then I do have a web page. But my web page, because of my way of living and the utilities that I haven't fully invested back into all my tools after the flood. I'm happy living simple and just getting by. It's all good. So I do need a laptop to really update my web page. But it's KM8IVE Arts, and um,
And that's number 8.
that's
Okay.
that's the number 8. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
my initials are KMS, and then you've got KMS, and then when you make the S loop, it becomes an 8.
yeah.
So that becomes K-Mate, and then living in the bush, I then changed my name from K-Mate on social media to K-Mative, like a native mate.
All right.
So, and K being Kyle, mate being a
Yeah, yeah.
mate, and mative, I know it's not mative with a T, but mative is like a native mate tied into one.
That's all
You
right. You
know?
can make it whatever you want.
I'm a native mate to you,
So
and I might have shot
yeah.
myself in the foot with this complex name, but that's just
No, if you get
what's.
something else that you end up feeling like, oh, you know what, I'd rather change to that.
To be
do it
honest,
then,
I'd
but
rather just stay as K-Mate,
then they don't need to
K-Mate.
worry about it.
Yeah, but
Oh.
someone's now gone. The world's expand, and someone's now K-Mate.
Oh,
But
there is
so-
somebody.
So yeah,
Oh,
well,
jeez.
that was my original name on social media,
Yeah, yeah.
and I didn't realize you could create another profile. But I was like, change my name, changed it, and then I was like, oh man, people aren't getting this K-Mative Arts thing.
Well,
Like,
it's
especially when I'm on the
K-Mate
phone.
with the number 8. Just make sure the number 8.
Oh man,
Right,
it's number 8. Yeah, K-Mate
yeah, yeah.
IVE
And
Arts.
send me the links. I can put them in the description of the
Cool, man.
podcast.
Yep,
And
super
whatever
duper.
you like, and I can
Yeah.
put introduction if you like,
Yeah,
whatever you want. Put in
yeah,
there.
cool.
Yeah, well, thank you for spending time, man. It's
No
always,
worries, dude. Good on you
always
for
fun
doing this.
to
Yeah.
to get together, catch up.
Yeah, man. most
And
definitely.
I appreciate your company.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate yours too, Yusufari. You always cook good food when I come here, and always make sure, everything's sorted. So,
Thanks.
yeah, thank you for always being a good friend and welcoming me onto your podcast.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Yeah, lovely.
Well, with that, thank you all.
Super duper.
Super duper.